In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
He's been called a modern-day bridge builder, connecting worlds divided by geography, circumstance, and perception. For nearly 40 years, Gil Gillenwater has worked shoulder to shoulder with families along the U.S.-Mexico border, transforming the idea of charity into something far deeper, reciprocal giving with shared dignity. As the founder and president of the Rancho Feliz Charitable Foundation, Gil's work has reshaped what border philanthropy can look like, empowering communities rather than rescuing them. His remarkable journey has earned him some of the nation's highest honors for volunteerism, from Arizona's Han Kachina Award to the National Association of Realtors Good Neighbor Award, and even Mexico's Premio a la Filantropía, the country's top recognition for individual philanthropy. Now, Gil has captured those decades of lessons, encounters, and revelations in his first book, Hope on the Border, a deeply personal exploration of what happens when compassion meets action and when helping others becomes a shared path to transformation. Gil Gillenwater, welcome to the conversation. It's great to be with you.
That was a heck of an introduction, Terry. Thank you very much.
For listeners meeting you for the first time, how would you describe the journey that led from real estate to Rancho Feliz and ultimately to Hope on the Border?
Well, that's a big question, but I'm a guy that likes to have fun. And when we would ride our Harleys down there, and I swore when I started it that I will do this as long as it's fun. And for 40 years, it's been an absolute blast. And my kind of definition of a life well lived is he who dies having had the most fun wins. So I structure all of our programs that way, and people really, for some reason, Terry, and I don't want to get subject here, but charity got a bad rap. For some reason, people think it's a sacrifice. When I have enough money, when I have leftover time, I'm going to do charitable work. I don't know if it's Jesus hanging up on a cross. I don't know where it came from, but what we're selling that charitable transaction way short, because it brings such purpose, meaning, and joy into our lives. I really feel sorry for people that don't understand what charitable work has to offer.
You often talk about reciprocal giving. What does that mean to you personally, and how does it differ from traditional charity?
Yeah, well, I like to, and there's two things. One is, it's the sacrifice thing. I always visualize a group of guys sitting around watching a football game, drinking beer, and the game's over, and one of them says, well, what do you want to do now? And the other guy says, well, I got a great idea. Let's go sacrifice. Who the hell's going to do that, right? Sacrifice is grounded in lack. And I think we're selling the transaction way short, because with reciprocal giving, and I like to say, we feed their stomachs, they feed our souls. And it's so true. We find purpose. We find meaning. We matter. How about that for a statement? Your life matters. And it's such small amounts of money and time, and you can change the trajectory of an entire family. In my mind, that's as close to God or spirit or anything I'll ever get. It's a remarkable thing. Not only are we giving the obvious, somebody gets a new roof, somebody gets a bag of food, but Gil Gillenwater gets when he lays on his deathbed, I'm going to be able to say, you know what? I'm leaving this place a little better shape than I found.
Hope on the Border is your first book. Why write it now after so many years in the field?
Because I have never seen our country so divided in my life. It hurts me to read what's going on the internet. People can't even have a cogent conversation anymore. And I don't know what it's at the root of this, whether it's this incorrigible fixation on the vertical pronoun, selfies, me. And I think our country is in trouble, and we have a solution. We have a facility down there on the border where I have 27,000 volunteers have crossed the border into Mexico, gone into the barrios, and served those who weren't born into their same fortunate circumstances. And here's the really cool thing, Terry. I'll take these high school kids down, and there's places where the wall just stops, the wall, right? That separates our countries. Only 500 miles of 2,000 borders is walled. So I'll take them to these areas and I'll say, okay, step over here. Oh, I'm going to be darned. You're in America. You have a minimum wage of about $18 an hour, parents that care, good education. Now step over here. Whoa, you're in the barrios of Agua Prieta. You know what the average daily wage is there? $14. And what's the difference? Luck. I was born over here, and bad luck, you were born over there. And it has a profound effect, especially on students and young minds that have this innate sense of social consciousness. Well, Mr. Gillenwater, that's not right. That's not fair. No, it's not. And they set out to want to change it. So I think we serve a real purpose there. I think we give Americans a venue where they can recognize themselves in others. This isn't love thy neighbor of thyself. That you're talking about two variables. This is I see me in you. And when we have that awareness, what is the most selfish thing I can do is to help you, because in helping you, it helps me.
Title itself, Hope on the Border, feels symbolic. What does hope mean to you in the context of the story?
Hope to me means you have purchase. You can be the smartest kid in the barrios of Agua Prieta and work as hard as you want, but without opportunity, you don't have a chance. Opportunity gives us hope. Opportunity opens that door, opens that portal to an abundant life. Opportunity for education, opportunity for employment, and with that comes hope for a better life.
Well, Gillenwater is our guest. We're talking about his new book, Hope on the Border. The website is Rancho Feliz, RanchoFeliz.com. Is there a particular story from the book that captures the spirit of what Rancho Feliz has achieved?
Particular story in the book. I'm not sure if the story's in the book, but its principle is, and it's really an important one for me to tell, if we can do that. We helped the Tarahumara Indians in the bottom of the Barranco de Cobre in Chihuahua, the Copper Canyon, 3 times the size of the Grand Canyon. This elusive little tribe of very timid Indians that are long-distance runners. And we enter them in races, and the guy who gets the first prize gets his town gets the highest allotment of corn and so on and so forth. And I met a young man. He was a runner. They run 100 miles. His name was Felipe. And I was back in Phoenix, and I saw this really cool knife. And I said, Felipe would love something like that. So I purchased it, and I took it down on my next trip. And I saw him, and I said, Felipe, look what I have. He looked at it, and we opened the blades, and he looked at it and was really thankful. And he sat down, and I went off to do something. And I came back, and there was the knife on the log he was sitting on, but he wasn't there. And I picked up, he said, well, shoot, he forgot the knife. So I'm running after him, Felipe. And one of the older Tarahumara tapped me on the shoulder. This man's a university educated. And he said, Mr. You did a really bad thing in our culture. So I did a bad thing. I gave him a gift. He said, yeah, exactly. And you didn't give him any indication you were going to give him that gift. So he had nothing to give you back. So you created this unequal, I'm the benevolent giver and you're the lowly receiver, this uneven exchange of energy. And that's where I came up with this idea of reciprocal giving. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're hanging out bags of food. You find something for the recipient to do to earn that bag so that they maintain their dignity as a human being.
Let's go a little deeper into enlightened self-interest. How do you define that, and how does that change the way we think about helping others?
Well, we kind of touched on it earlier. I love the term enlightened self-interest because it is enlightened, and it is my enlightened self-interest. It's in my benefit to help you. Because in helping you, I help myself. I don't know what it is. They say service is the commander of coincidence. I have found this. I'm not a real religious guy, but when I'm in service, the world opens up. Abundance opens up, and I could give you 1,000 examples of people donating money. One guy donated $300,000 worth of stock, and I couldn't get a hold of the broker to sell it. And I didn't get him till the next Tuesday. In the meantime, this lady came. She needed $26,000 to buy a child care center so parents didn't have to tie their kids into high chairs when they went to work. And I was kind of barking out the broker. I said, well, I couldn't get a hold of it. He go, well, calm down. The stock went up $26,000. The exact amount of money we needed to solve this woman's problem. Now you tell me. So I think that coincidence, I think that serendipity, I think that magic happens when we're in service to others. And so it's in my interest. It's my interest. It's not sacrifice. It's salvation for me to serve others.
You have been a lifelong student of Eastern philosophy and meditation. How have those practices shaped your outlook on leadership and service?
Well, it's interesting, and I don't call myself a Buddhist. I hate labels. Why would we do that? When you say you're a Buddhist, you're saying everything you're not, and I just don't believe in that. So I am a student of Buddhism. I am a firm believer that when we calm our minds through meditation, this isn't prayer. Prayer has two parties. You're talking to somebody. This is sitting quiet. And it's not about not thinking. People have the worst interpretation of what meditation is. It's just relaxing your mind and seeing your thoughts for what they are. They're simply thoughts. You don't have to buy into them. And when that hits, when you really understand that, it's absolutely liberating that you don't have to believe everything that you think. Because let me tell you something, our minds are not necessarily our friends. We get in these hedonic loops, play them over and over. But in meditation, and they've proven all this through MRI studies, is that when you relax, the mind, the left side of the brain is stimulated. And that's the happiness. That's the contentment part. And when we are in meditation and when we are in service with a relaxed mind, our baseline happiness rises. We're happier people. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you're walking behind somebody and they've got a load of books and a piece of paper falls out. What's your first instinct?
Pick it up and hand it back?
Pick it up. We are charitable people. By design, we are charitable. Now, we might think, oh, wait a minute, I don't know that person, blah, blah, blah. But your first initial things. And another thing, let's say you're driving in traffic and there's some poor guy trying to get out. He comes in front of you and you son of a gun, how could you do that to me? You know, anger forces us to love ourselves. Do that to me. He didn't do it to you. He's late for work. Now, what happens if he's trying to get in? You slow down and you wave him in and he looks at you and you have that moment of connection. How do you physically feel? Relaxed. Your mind is relaxed. And it's my contention that when we create space in our mind, that's where we have Christ consciousness can come in, or call it Buddha nature, call it whatever you want, but we actually can tap into a bigger world.
Gil Gillenwater's new book is Hope on the Border. The website is ranchofeliz.com. What's the biggest misconception Americans have about the border and the people who live there?
Well, that they're Mexicans. I hear it all the time. Why don't those damn Mexicans stay in their own country? And I always marvel over that. What does that mean? They have fewer nerve endings? They don't get as hungry? They don't love their mothers? I mean, come on. These are people that were born under a different set of circumstances. I will tell you, in a world, the World Happiness Report just came out for 2024. People under the age of 30 in America were rated out of 143 countries. That's not a real high happiness rating. Mexican, when he fit, they're 25. So think of the paradox here. The people that are much happier are trying desperately to get into a country that's much unhappier. And I think it has to go with the perception that money and happiness are synonymous, which those of us with money in America know isn't necessarily true. I guess another great misconception, though, is that they're happier people there, that it's a dangerous place. I've had 27,000 volunteers go down, and we have never had a single act of violence. I couldn't do that in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a safe place. They're good-hearted people, and they just haven't had the same opportunities. Think about this, Terry. Tell me the difference between the words opportunity and freedom.
Feels like they're synonymous to me.
They are synonymous. And we are America, the land of opportunity. And 95% of the world lives less well off financially than we do. And, it's a strange scenario, and I think it does us all good. If I'm up here in Scottsdale for too long, I go into a rage because my dry cleaning is a day late. I call those first world problems. So when I go down there into Agua Prieta and I see a little family, a single mother with 4 children, struggling to feed them, to sell little cakes on the street, to clothe them, to house them, to keep them, I don't know how she gets up in the morning. And it puts my life into such a perspective of gratefulness that I was born here in the United States of America with all the opportunities that I've been given.
What have the people you've served and served alongside taught you about resilience and dignity?
My goodness. Like I just said, I don't know how some of them do it. I truly don't, down there in the bar. And dignity, you go there, you go into their little houses and they're clean. It's a human trait. We all have our dignity, and we need to respect other people's dignity. And I think this reciprocal giving, let me give you an example. We do these huge food distributions, 1,000 bags of food, which equates to 44,000 meals. And it used to be all they had to do was show up. We give them a ticket. You have to have tickets, otherwise it's absolute mayhem. But they'll start standing in line 5 hours ahead of time to get their single bag of food. And they're like this, they're downtrodden, they're waiting for their food. And I thought, I'm violating my own principle in that I'm giving them something without them giving something back. But what can an 85-year-old lady possibly contribute? Well, I looked around, or a child. I looked around and, the discarded plastic bag is the national flower in Agua Prieta. So I came up with this edict. If you want a bag of food, you have to collect a minimum of 20 pieces of discarded plastic off the street. And I didn't know whether I'd show up the next morning and they go, screw you, gringo. I didn't know how they were going to react to this. But when I got there, they were, mira, senora, mira mi bolsa. Look at my bag, 200 pieces. I didn't get 20, I got 200. People want to contribute. They know they don't want to be beggars. They want to earn that bag of food. And damn, they did. They had 500 pieces. They had 300 pieces. And if you looked out on the sea of humanity, their posture was better. They stood up straight. They looked you in the eye. Was an equal exchange there. And what a revolution that was to me of how we need to protect people's base human dignity.
After decades of hands-on service, what do you see as your proudest accomplishment, or perhaps your most unexpected one?
I got 2. And you didn't tell me any of these questions were coming, by the way. But one is, we had this little boy, a guy named Reyes Zagas. He had this adorable family and raised, kind of in a dirt-floored shack. He is now working for Rolls-Royce in Berlin. He's such a smart guy. We got him educated. We've issued over 4,000 scholarships. And the beauty of being in business for 40 years is you can see what works. Education works. So to be able to provide that type of an education where people can actually join the middle class, they can actually be contributing members of the planet. That to me is a huge accomplishment when I see a kid with his or her university diploma. The other was, which caught me off guard, I was named, and you mentioned it earlier, that Premio Philanthropy Award for the state of Sonora, the only American to ever receive that award. And I thought that was incredible that they would do that for me, and they did. So those would be 2 examples.
What do you hope readers will take away from Hope on the Border and from your life's work?
Well, I'm hoping Hope on the Border. I don't cut anybody any slack in that book. I come after the Mexican government. I come after religion. I go after everything that I have seen in my experience that has created this dysfunctional area, this clashing of cultures. Are you kidding me? In the 21st century, your solution is to build a wall? Well, we have to. But why wouldn't our civilization be a little bit further along than having to resort to 7th century solutions to 21st century problems? So I hope that I can open people's eyes to what the border situation really is. And us as Americans, our contribution, I mean, World War II under the Braceros program, we brought 5 million Mexicans into the United States. We support maquiladoras, where it's indentured servitude, and every big American corporation there is has a plant 10 miles on the other side so they can pay these people peanuts so Gil Gillenwater can buy a flat screen TV at Costco for $150. We have a hand in this. Why don't those darn Mexicans keep the drugs out of America? Well, I got an idea. Stop snorting it up your nose. If there was no demand, there would be no supply. We have a hand in this, and we need to own it. And I'm hoping that the border shows that. And the other thing is that just basic human nature, we need to understand that, and we need to work within the confines of greed. We are greedy. So let's set up service work where it is greed-based. I do it for me, and by the way, you get a house. And when that clicks, everybody's going to jump in.
How do you sell that when so many of our paradigms are so firmly entrenched in our minds?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how we sell. We built a volunteer complex, Terry, down there that would rival any hotel in Phoenix or Tucson. And people go, gosh, Gil, you guys went way over the top. Well, yeah, I want to bring wealthy people down. They don't want to sleep on a church or on a gym floor. They have a beautiful private room. We have a huge comedor with wonderful Mexican meals and the mariachis playing. So after a long day at work, they can get a nice hot shower, have a comfortable stay. Where I'm going with this is I can tell you about it. I can show you videos. You can read about it until you go down there with me. Taste it, feel it, and feel how this purpose that you have, and watch your kids just blossom before your very eyes. I have people say, I can't get my kid to take the trash out once a week, but he wants to come down and work like a dog for you. What's going on? Well, he has purpose. And so that's how we get people to understand it. It has to be visceral. They have to come down again. They have to stay there, see it, see the good they're doing, see how good they feel about themselves. That's how we convert. So we've got 27,000 people had that experience.
Why, as a species, are we so unbalanced?
Why are we so unbalanced? Terry, do you know what the United States spent on pet clothing last year? $2 billion. $2 billion. Do you know how many years of high school scholarship I could buy with $2 billion? 7 million years of education for what we spent on pet clothing. I don't get it.
How do we change that?
We change it by getting people to realize it's in their best interest to change it. We can't shame them into it. We can't present it as a sacrifice and hope they bite. No, we have to show them this is in your best. This is going to make your life better. It's going to make your children better people. It's going to make you a better person. It's going to make America a better country. That's how we change.
If you're talking to someone who believes that making America great again is about closing our borders and focusing on ourselves, and they have what they believe are very good reasons for that belief,
yes.
How do you change those hearts and minds?
Well, I think there's a legitimate statement there. I was down there. 13 million people poured through our borders unvetted. I was there. I'm meeting people from Senegal. I'm meeting people from the Congo. Because I walk the borders. I mean, I'm there. I find the dead bodies, 1,500 a year that die in our deserts trying to get across the border. And I was there. I saw it. I talked to these people. We cannot have a sovereign country. We've got, 8.25 billion people on planet Earth. 44% of those live on less than $7 a day. America can't take that burden on. I wish we could. And I think we ought to do a thing on your tax return. If you believe in that, sign here and you can pay for what it's going to cost to bring them in. But my contention is, Our border policies are broken. We need immigrants. Why in the world can't we have a program where we vet them? Somebody applies, they want to work in America, and then we vet them. We make sure they're not criminals. We tax them so they're not a burden on the system. We let them come work, and we let them go home at Christmas or whenever they want. Where is the mystery in that? The people that are here, they say there's 20 million people. Set up a program now where there's a path to citizenship. And by that, they sign a document that says, you know what? I'm guilty. I broke the law. I admit it. There's no repercussion with that. They have 10 years to pay $10,000 each fine and a path to citizenship. What's 20 million times 10,000? To be a home run that way. We're not going to get them all out anyway, but there are solutions. And so that would be, I would agree. There are 70 walls on this planet keeping immigrants out. We don't have the only wall in the world. Israel's got a huge one. I guess my contention is there is a time and a place for walls, and we are at that right now because we cannot support open borders. Obama said that. Clinton said that. Anybody with a logical mind will tell you we have sovereignty for a reason. Border laws were put in by legislation, by the will of the people. We need to honor those. Otherwise, we're not going to have a sovereign country, and it ain't going to work. It just practically won't work.
The book is Hope on the Border. The website, ranchofeliz.com. The book is available via Amazon and wherever cool books are sold, written by our special guest, Gil Gillenwater. Thanks very much for the conversation. This has been great.
Terry, I've truly enjoyed this opportunity to tell my story, and I just want you to know you have an open invitation to come down and stay with us. I'll show you a weekend you won't soon forget.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.